In an interview with a French newspaper, Colonel Gaddafi has issued a warning to Europe that it will be invaded by Libyans should his regime be toppled. The Italian government is bracing itself for what it's described as a biblical-style exodus of North African immigrants using Italy as their transit point. The tiny Italian town of Lampedusa off the Sicilian coast is already overwhelmed by arrivals who are risking their lives by fleeing Tunisia in small boats. More than 8,000 have landed on Lampedusa in the past 3 weeks, as our Europe correspondent Emma Alberici reports.
When they arrive here, we give them a pair of trousers, a shirt, a jumper, hygiene products. They get a phone card and even 10 cigarettes. They get everything they need to maintain a certain level of personal dignity.
The holding centre on Lampedusa sleeps 850 people. Conor Gallipo, the director of the facility, tells us there are currently 1,400 people preparing to bunker down here tonight.
Yes, we're overcrowded, but so far the situation is under control.
There are no detention centres in Italy. In places like this, people can come and go as they please. Most, like 25-year-old Amaro Akremi, will end up in France. He has a diploma in art and photography, and he owned his own studio in Tunisia, but in January it was torched by rebels. He says corrupt officials refused to recognise his insurance claim, so he saw no option but to flee.
Our boat was in difficulty. The engine had stalled and we spent 22 hours stranded at sea. A friend from Tunisia sent a mechanic to help us, but while we waited it was very hard. We were very scared. It felt like we were staring at death. We could see nothing else.
Tunisia is a former French colony. While its people are landing in Italy, for most it's just a transit point as they make their way to France, where they can speak the language.
Many Tunisians that they pass the border between France and Italy and France, they are stopped by French police, and there they are being transferred to a detention centre.
For the past 3 weeks, there have been a steady flow of boats coming to Lampedusa from Tunisia. Since the collapse of Ben Ali's government, close to 9,000 people have made the perilous journey here. What did it feel like when you got off the boat?
I like to kiss the ground, but there was too much people and there was no time for it, you know.
Tina Rothkamp and her 8-year-old daughter Amira are German, not illegal immigrants or asylum seekers. They're both citizens of the European Union. But last night they jumped on a boat and took a 24-hour trip across the sea to reach Italy. She has full custody of her daughter, but claims that her estranged husband in Tunisia is violent and would not allow her to leave freely.
Her father is a doctor in Djerba. He has very much influence on the police. The police take her passport, which is not allowed. And we had big trouble, years, to get a new passport. And now we got a new passport in Tunis and 3 weeks ago. And so we had the chance to do this, and we go by a legal way, but we are legal in Italy. She is legal. She have all the papers she needs.
The Guardia di Finanza is Italy's customs, police and border control agency. They're part of a civil service cavalcade that have arrived on Lampedusa to deal with what the Italian government has declared as a state of emergency.
When the weather is good and the surface of the sea is plain, many boats coming from North Africa, and we have to do a really hard job to catch them all. Set for takeoff.
Lieutenant Colonel Stefano Bastoni is preparing his crew for their daily reconnaissance flight to establish how many boats are attempting to cross into Italian waters and whether a search and rescue team should be dispatched to help. And it's big business for the traffickers.
Yes, a very big business, because they take more than 1,000 euros for a single person. So 1,000 or 1,500. So you can imagine for a boat of 100 or 200 people, so a very big business here.
While we're filming at the centre, a young Tunisian man is rushed to hospital after an attempted suicide. This centre has only just reopened after having been closed for nearly 2 years. There simply weren't any boats coming from North Africa after a deal struck between Silvio Berlusconi and Muammar Gaddafi, which involved Rome handing over $5 billion to Tripoli. As part of the deal, Italy became Libya's biggest trading partner. Just 2 weeks ago, when the Italian PM was asked whether he'd spoken to his dear friend Muammar Gaddafi, Silvio Berlusconi said he didn't want to disturb him. The longest pipeline in the Mediterranean links Libya and Italy, feeding Italy with 30% of its oil needs and 10% of its gas. For the Italian government, seizing Libyan assets is a tricky business. Colonel Gaddafi owns stakes in the country's biggest bank, as well as 7% of the Juventus soccer club. The central bank governor in Rome has warned that the unrest in Libya will slow growth in Italy's already near stagnant economy. Emma Alberici, Lateline.